Carylanne Stonehill is a wellness professional who specializes in intuitive life coaching and a mind-body energy approach to healing and well-being. She lives guided by spirit and believes love, gratitude, joy, faith, peace, and prayer, meditation, are the foundations for living a fulfilling, heart-centered life. For the past 22 years, she has actively served her clients as a life coach, spiritual mentor, young living consultant, and a breath and energy worker. She facilitates monthly meditations, teaches and lectures nationwide on a variety of topics that include loving self-care, sacred space and spiritual practice, essential oils, authentic living, mindfulness and soul development, and new thought. Her favorite quote is, "Love, in all things love." She joyfully resides in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Carylanne's spiritual journey began at the age of 2 when she had a near-death experience and first met the Christ and his angels. At 26, she reawakened to her natural gifts of intuition, connection to spirit, attunement to Mother Earth, and her abilities to support the soul growth of others. Her deeply peaceful nature transcends into all she does. She employs spiritual and practical techniques using light, breath, energy, and natural medicines found in plants, flowers, and trees. She is a Reiki master, a certified hypnotherapist, a raindrop technique specialist, and is an ordained priestess in the Order of Melchizedek. Carylanne revitalizes and energizes herself by finding great joy, beauty, and fulfillment in nature. She does this by walking, playing, praying, and meditating in sacred spaces and in her favorite gardens and state parks. She uses her gifts and life experiences to inspire friends, students, and clients to live a heart-centered, abundant life, true to their spirit and life path. Carylanne.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am truly delighted to be here today and to just be in the midst of all this incredible love. Can you feel this? This is just an amazing spiritual family that we have here, and I am blessed to be a part of it. And so today is a really important day. I'm dedicating this talk to my mom, who has been an incredible inspiration for me to follow and really understand my path with Christ, and that we're never alone, because we're never alone. And it took me a really long time to know this, to really know it. And at the beginning of this year, I was meditating, and I always ask for a word for the year, as a lot of us do. You know, what's your intention? What do you want to experience this year? And the word was prayer. And I am a really strong believer in prayer. And I really enjoy being part of the prayer circle here when I'm able to. And it's just been so amazing to be a part of that. And at Galilee Church and Unity, and prayer really does change things. It really does change things. And so I need to put my eyes on, as my dad would say, so I can read my notes. So the word prayer came, and then I began to recite the 23rd Psalm. And I've been reciting the 23rd Psalm every single day this year. Not necessarily knowing, but as Jerry said in the quote, you know, when we trust in God, that's when things happen, that's when we know. And so I started reciting this prayer, realizing it's a living prayer. It's a living prayer, that we're never alone. That's what it means to me. And so I wanted to share what it means to me today and to invite you to decide what it means to you. I would like to read this to you. A friend of mine, when I was preparing for this talk, I mentioned it to a few people, and one friend shared this with me, and she said that I prayed this prayer as part of the eulogy I gave at my dad's passing home. And she said, I read this psalm to my father at the time of his passing, holding his hand as he lay in a coma. But when I read the 23rd Psalm, a tear rolled down his cheek, and he squeezed my hand. And she said, I wept in great joy and grace, and this was my farewell to this honorable man that was my dad. And I thanked her for sharing that with me. When my dad went home 16 years ago, I read the 23rd Psalm. And so now, as I'm in the midst of the time when my mom will be making her transition, it comes again as a living, breathing prayer, as a walk, as an everyday faith that God is always with me, that Christ is always with me, that the love, the eternal love and peace that Christ is always with all of us, and that we are that love. And I believe that we experience that every Sunday when we come here. And so I wanted to share with you how I've been walking in the 23rd Psalm. And so in May, I was called to go down to Florida and assist my brother and sister in placing, we had to put my mom in a nursing home. She has very advanced Alzheimer's, and she needed round-the-clock care. And I want to thank Cynthia for praying with me before I went, and the prayer group for praying with me, and all the people that have been praying with me and for me from May till now. And so I made a plan to go, and I had just gotten my new Jeep, Magdalena, and so I was ready. I had my car, and so it's about a 17-and-a-half-hour drive to Florida. I don't know if any of you have ever driven to Fort Myers. It's beautiful, but it's really, really far. But I knew that my angels were with me, and I knew that Christ was with me, and people were sending me these beautiful angel messages and text as I was driving. And so I drive down, and I made my way to Georgia. And I get to Georgia, and I don't really know my way around Georgia at all. But I found a hotel, and the woman said, well, you have to go to this restaurant called La Vanella's. And I'm like, La Vanella's? Okay. I'll go to a restaurant that has the word love in it. So I drive up to this restaurant, and there's this huge heart on the building. I'm like, okay, God, here we are. I'm in the right place. And I walk in, and I'm from New York originally, which is probably going to come out in my talk because I mentioned it. And so I walk in, and it's like old school. It's like old school pizza parlor with the red seats and everything. And I'm like, oh my God, God, you're so good. And so I sat down and, they came over to me and I ordered a little pizza. And I'm sitting there and I'm just really reflecting on how God brought me there and how love is always present and how the eternal is always with us and how we're never alone. And even in Georgia, where I don't know anyone, I felt like I walk into this pizza place, this Love and Ella's, and I'm not alone. I felt that I was almost home in a way. And I imagine that a lot of us feel home when we're here. We feel like we're home. And so I called it a night, and I woke up the next day to make the rest of the drive, and so it's sunrise, and I pull into this gas station, and a lot of you know I walk a native path. I believe that animal medicine is always speaking to us. So I pull up in this gas station, and I'm fueling up, and this rooster, I'm not even kidding, this rooster is walking around. And I'm giggling because I'm like, what's the medicine of the rooster, right? And so I'm laughing because I'm like, thank you, Spirit, thank you, thank you, Lord. And so I text one of my friends, and it's like 6:30 now. I'm like, I need to know. So it's enthusiasm. It's the sun is with you, and it's don't ever give up. Now, I knew when I was facing this trip that this was probably going to be one of the most beautiful, challenging, and scary parts of my life. But I knew that Christ was with me, because for a long time I would hear Christ say, look to your left. I'm holding your hand. I'm on your left. And that's carried me through many times. And so I drive forward and got that rooster medicine with me. I'm feeling really good. And laughing. I'm like, the rooster? Usually it's the crow, it's the dove. And so I'm driving, and halfway down I get a call from my sister that my mom had an episode and that I needed to meet them at the hospital. And I'm like, okay. So I'm driving, and I get this amazing text from one of my friends. Thank God for that technology now. She sends me this amazing, beautiful picture of the Blessed Mother and giving me this just really beautiful support from the Sacred Feminine. And so I get to the hospital. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling I can do this. I'm not alone. And I walk into the hospital, and this wave of panic and anxiety washes over me, which is one that's washed over me before. I was like, Lord, why now? And I'm wondering, what I'm about to face. And so I couldn't catch my breath, and I can't catch it right now. I don't know if any of you have ever had an anxiety or panic attack. Anybody? Anybody in the room? Thank you so much. It's unnerving. You feel like your heart is beating really fast, and you're not really sure how you're going to take your next breath. And but Christ always says to me, one breath at a time, Carylanne. One breath at a time, one step at a time. I'm with you. I've got you. You're with me. And so I hear that, and I walk up to the desk, I guess. And, now when you go to the hospital, you have to have your picture taken. You need ID. It's like this whole big thing. You're nervous enough walking in there, right? And so I do all that, and I'm like, okay. And I see the chapel sign. I'm like, okay, I'm good. The the chapel's there, so I walk into the chapel and I get down, I walk in, I get down on my knees, and I'm reciting the 23rd Psalm. And I feel his hand, I feel a little bit more peaceful, so I'm like, okay. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, at the desk they told me my mom's on the 4th floor. So I had to either find the stairs and run up or find the elevator. And so I'm walking around a hospital that I don't know as I walk through hallways that I don't know, as I walk through valleys of darkness where I don't know where I'm going. Christ is with me. The light is with me. The eternal peace is with me. And so I'm walking and I'm wanting to laugh, but I can't really because I'm nervous. And so I finally have the courage to get on the elevator. And I go up to the 4th floor and I walk out. And there's like all these different hallways and pathways. And then I sort of started to think, okay, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. And my breath got quiet. And still, just like this room just got completely still. And I said, okay, my feet will always carry me. There's a special prayer or where the footprints one, the footprints prayer that I should have written it down, that I'm not fully aware of how it goes, but those were the times when there was only one set of feet because you were carrying me. I literally felt like Christ just scooped me up and was carrying me down all those hallways, and so blessed by that. And so I'm walking and I'm asking for directions, and oh, you have to go here, and then you have to go there, and then finally I see my sister, and she, she's like, come on, one of those. And I'm walking really slowly, because when you're nervous, you want to walk slowly, because you want to keep your heartbeat at rest. I've had a lot of practice with that. And so I finally get to the room, and there's an exit sign, so I know the stairway is right there, just in case the stairway's right there. So I walk into the room and I hug my sister, and my sister goes and sits in the back. It was a big room. And I walk over to the bed, and my mom is so little. I hadn't seen her for like a year. And she's asleep, and she's curled up like a baby. So beautiful. So I got down on my knees, and I kneeled beside the bed. And I felt the presence of the two Marys. It was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. It was one of the most beautiful moments. And I placed my hand on my mom's shoulder. And she opened her eyes. And she looked at me. And she smiled. And I was home. And she kissed my hand. And my mom and I we saw each other's soul. We saw the light in each other. And so I made it to see her. And we visited for a while, mostly just sitting in the silence, and because her thought patterns were, I guess, challenging for her. But she knew me, and so it was beautiful. And so left the hospital, went outside, and sat at this fountain, and I literally felt all that fear that I had been walking in kind of wash. It was like Christ was washing me, like I was being washed of all that. And so then the next day, I wake up in the morning and there's a dove at the window of the bedroom at my sister's house tapping. I've never heard a dove tap. Ghosts, they coo. So he's cooing and he's tapping, and I wake up, I'm like, I'm awake, I'm awake, I'm awake. And so I knew the dove was with me that day. And every day. And so I went off again, and so to make a long story short, or not so short, the trip was miraculous. It was miraculous. It was extraordinary, it was challenging, it was heartbreaking. But it was one of the best times of my life. And so I forgot to tell you, on my way down, I got a message to call Nigel Mumford and ask him to pray and to set up an appointment with him for when I got back. And so I'm driving back, and I had stopped at Amelia Island. It's a beautiful island in Florida. And I went to sleep, and then I woke up the next day, and I went out onto the beach. And I was walking, and I'm walking on the beach, and I smelled roses. And I'm looking around, and I just said, thank you. So we're never alone. When we're on the beach, when we're in the hospital, when we're at the grocery store, when we're in the churches and the temples, we're never alone. And I believe that that's what my mom, and that's what God has been wanting me to know the whole time. Wanting us to know the whole time. And I know that now. I know that. And the beautiful woman that spoke before about her path when she was lighting the candle, thank you for that. That was just amazing. Just so beautiful. And so I got back, and I met with Nigel, and I'm telling him about the hospital. And he looks at me and he said, so you've been reciting the 23rd Psalm since the beginning of the year, because the Lord knew about the hallways in the hospital. So he was preparing you the whole time, walking with you the whole time so that you would know. And I was like, yes. Yes. So of course Nigel, he's like, brilliant! It was so good. It was so good. So he prayed with me, and so my life is forever changed by the 23rd Psalm, which I continuously pray all the time. And I was given a message from Nigel. What does that mean to you? What does the 23rd Psalm mean to you? He's like, why don't you write it out? So I did. But before I share that with you, I'd like to call up some friends, Brian and Cian and Larry. And we are here and would like to anoint you, if you would like to be anointed. And we brought up sacred oil, frankincense, and myrrh. So if you'd like to come up, please do so. So that we can do that for you. 2 by 2 is always good. 2 by 2. Let us take a deep breath. and close our eyes and give thanks. Thank you for that beautiful song and music. Thank you all. And let us take a moment to go to our temple, whether that's a physical temple or the temple in your heart. Mary's garden. And let us just sit quietly and silently just for a few moments as we sit in the presence of the light of the eternal love. The Lord, eternal light and love, is my shepherd, my assurance. He cares for me always. Always. I have everything I need to be fully alive. I am led to beautiful, rich gardens, mountaintops, and forests where I am renewed and revitalized. To clear waters where my soul is restored. The light and the peace of the Eternal One is always with me, alive in my heart and in the hearts of us all. I walk in right guided action, non-judgment, and divine truth on this path to glorify the Lord, the Anointed One. And though I walk down new and uncharted territory and into the cycles of birth, death, and transformation, I fear no evil, for the Lord is with me. Always. The divine truth and infinite power and peace, they comfort me. A table is always prepared before me, and we are all gifted with abundance and plenty. My head is anointed with the holiest of oils, and I am one with the God of Abraham. The light of the Christ is my assurance, my cup runneth over. Surely inherent goodness and mercy, light and truth, love will follow me and be with me, for we are the light that dwells in the house of the Lord. We are the light. As Larry held up the flame for us to connect with, take that flame with you. Take the light with you. Be the light that you are. Be the love that you are. Be the peace that you are. For we are never alone. The light and the Lord is always with us. So as you take a deep breath and come out of that sacred space, thank you. Thank you. We are one in the light. We are one in the love. We are one.